It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by Shurhold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, Shurhold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating your game, then you agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
Thanks for tuning in to ShipShape TV. I'm John Greviskis, and on today's show, we're going to show you how to properly wash down the boat after a day on the salt water. We'll talk with a professional detailer on which products work best, some tricks of the trade, how to treat mildew, bring oxidized fiberglass back to life, and how to clean Isinglass. We'll also be speccing out a new boat today on a segment we call What's Hot in the Water. Now, the boat cleaning tips that we're about to give you will not only save you time and money, but are also all great ways to make your boat shipshape.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Boaterama, the Robin Hood of the boating business. And by 94.3 The Beach, your station for rock and roll oldies. And by RPM Diesel Engine Company, so much more than an engine company.
Welcome back. Let's get right into showing you how to properly wash down the boat after a day in the salt water. With us today is a professional detailer who has a very successful detailing business in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Her name is Patricia Atkinson, owner of Kiwahine Marine Services. Patricia, can you give us the proper techniques in washing down a boat?
John, the most important thing is the brushes that you use. You don't want to use a brush like this, which comes with most packages, because it's so coarse and hard and abrasive, and it can damage your fiberglass.
Now, this is the brush that a lot of the kits come with.
Yes, it is.
And this brush is bad?
Unfortunately, yes. People use this on their fiberglass, on their isinglass, on their canvas, and if you get up close and look, there's going to be scratches from all this coarse brush.
So coarse nylon brush leaves scratches.
Leave it at home.
No good. Okay, what do you recommend?
I recommend brushes by Shurhold. They're a little more flared, they're a lot wider, and they're much softer, as you can feel. There's several different brushes. This is the finest. This can be used on isinglass, on canvas, on fiberglass. This one is a little harder.
This is more for your decks and...
More for your decks and your fiberglass, but you feel it. It's still soft. It can't hurt anything.
What soap should we use?
Well, first I'd like to go into what we shouldn't use. One of the most important things not to use is dish soap. It's good for taking grease off dishes, but it will also take the wax and the shine off your boat. Another thing you don't want to use, you want to stay away from, is soft scrub.
Okay.
A lot of people use soft scrub.
A lot of boaters use soft scrub.
A lot of them.
Now, you're telling me that this is bad for the boat?
Oh, it ruins the finish. It absolutely ruins the finish. It's too harsh, it's too abrasive. You should be using something much milder with a nice soft brush, a nice mild soap. Do the trick.
Give us some examples of some mild detergents.
Boat soap is a very good boat soap. Orpine is a good boat soap. Boat Leaf makes a good boat soap. Just stay away from the dish soap and the soft scrub.
Now, which one are we going to be using today?
Orpine.
What do we do first?
Okay, first you start by rinsing off the boat with fresh water and filling a 5-gallon pail with soap and water. And you start washing from the top and work your way down. They tell you on the boat soap to use a capful, but it's never enough. Use a little more. Okay, you mix the soap in. You always want to start on the top of the boat when you're washing. Start from the highest level and work your way down. Let the gravity work for you, not against you. Okay, John, the most important part to remember when you're washing a boat is to wash the boat and rinse the boat in sections so the soap does not dry, leaving a residue.
After we rinse the boat, is it recommended that we chamois at this point?
Absolutely. The best time to chamois the boat is after you wash it to remove any unwanted water spots and also to do a check of cleaning that might need to be done afterwards.
And we'll get into those procedures right after we spec out this new boat. Let's have a look. Last week on What's Hot on the Water, we took a look at the 2503 Bayliner Trophy, which was a really great fishing boat. Today we're going to take a look at a sister ship. We're going to look at the 1903 Trophy, which indeed is another great fishing boat. And with us today is my good friend Carlos Ruiz to tell us a little about the boat. Carlos, great to see you.
Same, John. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is a real pretty boat.
It sure is. Our 1903 is a very popular boat. It's a nice-sized fishing boat.
But for a 19-foot boat, there's a lot more room. You would think it's a much larger boat than a 19-foot
Sure,
boat. There's a lot of room here.
People come to the store and they cannot believe when they say, this is a 19, I have a 21 and mine's smaller than yours.
Absolutely. Well, really one of the neat things about it is the amenities that the boat comes with. This boat's set up to fish. Let's talk about some of those
It's a
amenities.
center console. You have removable seats in the back that, for comforters when you're riding, then when you're ready to fish, for your comfort. When you're ready to catch
Really
that big
nice.
fish.
That's great. That's great. Live well?
Live well.
Fish boxes?
Fish boxes, huge fish boxes that you can use them at dry storage also.
Okay. Rod storage?
Rod storage, you also have a cooler out front for your refreshments.
Unbelievable. Well, last week, Carlos, we were talking about the fact that a lot of guys go out and they buy a boat and they have to wait a year or two to save up enough to buy that T-top. You're changing things.
We're changing those things. We understand that we all go through a lot to be able to purchase one of these boats.
Absolutely.
Okay?
You set people up to where they don't have to go all over town to get stuff. You set people up with boat, motor, trailers. And in this case, we're looking at that T-top.
Free T-top.
Unbelievable.
I mean, a T-top is everybody's dream when you buy a fishing boat.
Absolutely. You want that shade. You want the ability to be able to get out there, but you still want to be out. I mean, when you get an open fisherman, you want to be out in the sun. You want to catch fish. I mean,
Right,
that's what
and
it's
the
all
good thing
about.
about the T-top doesn't interfere in any part of your boat.
Now, you're saying that you're throwing in the T-top free, but come on, let's talk.
People said free, oh, you don't get nothing for free. This is a boat, motor, and trailer we sell for $18,995. Now, at Boaterama, $16,995. Not only are we discounting the boat, we're giving you a $3,500 T-top, and that's no game, John.
That's unbelievable. So for $16,995, you're going to get a 19-foot trophy Bayliner, you're going to get the engine, you're going to get the trailer, and you're going to get the T-top. Shoot, for all that, why don't you take them out fishing?
We can do that also.
It's an incredible deal. How do we come down and see this boat? How do we touch this boat? How do we experience this boat?
You can come and see this boat in any of our locations, Miami, Biscayne, and 135th Street.
Okay. Fort Lauderdale.
441 between Griffin and 84.
You have a Pompano store. It's open until 8 o'clock on Wednesdays
and Thursdays.
They're accommodating the working guys. If you work until 5, if you work until 6, hey, no problem. Come down to the Pompano store, which is on Copans and Federal, actually just a little north of Copans on Federal. Wednesdays and Thursdays until 8 o'clock. That's great. And then you have
a new location,
which is in
South Palm Beach.
Oh, this is a nice store. You've actually taken over Palm Beach
Yacht Center.
And this is the store. Now, guys, Boaterama does not put these boats out in parking lots. They're not full of dirt and everything. They're not open to the elements. They're indoors. If they're not in a showroom, they're in your huge
warehouse.
Right, absolutely.
Not only we have 4 stores, we have a huge warehouse. I mean, you get a fresh boat.
Come on down, see this 19-foot Bayliner for yourself. You'll be glad you did, Carlos. Until next week.
See you next week, John.
Patricia, that was such a fun boat to spec out. What'd you think?
I thought she was beautiful.
While we were away, you were telling me about chamois and how many different chamois there are on the market. The one that you really don't like is the original one. It's the cowhide leather chamois. And you were telling me that the oil in the chamois, in the leather, is actually being left behind as a residue on people's boats. And what happens when you go back and you wax it, the waxes are actually desponding or not sticking to the hull. What do you use in place of them?
Normally we use a synthetic chamois called the absorber. It works wonderfully on fiberglass, glass, metal, and it is not affected by the dirt or the grease, and it picks up wonderfully.
That's great. Right now we need to hear a word from the people who make the show possible, so please stay tuned.
ShipShape TV will be right back. Anthony Speckle of Miami Beach, Florida asks, what is the difference between documentation and registration, and why do lending institutions require yachts to be documented as U.S. flagged vessels? Answer coming up from maritime attorney Gail Hawks right after these messages.
The Shurhold Soft Brush. Perfect for use on boats, cars and trucks, decks and patios, and even windows. Specially designed split-end bristles hold more soap and water for effortless and effective cleaning. Built-in safety bumper protects surrounding surfaces from accidental damage. The included 48-inch threaded wooden handle is sturdy, lightweight, and strong. Proudly made in the USA, the Shurhold Marine Mate Soft Brush is the worldwide standard in deck brushes. Shurhold. Clean and simple.
Here is today's maritime law question. What is the difference between documentation and registration, and why do lending institutions require yachts to be documented as U.S. flagged vessels?
Documentation refers to enrolling a vessel under the flag of a particular country, in our case, the United States. Registration refers to licensing a vessel in a particular state. The federal statute that applies to mortgages, ship mortgages, is the Vessel Mortgage Act, and it provides certain protection for that lending institution so long as the vessel is documented, and that's why they require the vessel be documented.
If you have any maritime law questions for attorney Gail Hawks, hop on to the ShipShape TV web address at www.spectacular.com/ShipShape-TV. This interactive website has chat boxes for all sorts of boat-related issues, as well as information on what ShipShape TV is doing off the air, and special offers from our sponsors, found only on the web. Type into www.spectacular.com/ShipShape-TV today.
If you own a boat or are in the process of purchasing one, there are many instances when you may need a maritime attorney. My name is Gail Hawks, and I handle cases involving personal injury, collision, insurance coverage, repairs, vessel documentation, and other maritime matters.
When you need a maritime attorney, call the law offices of Gail Hawks, 305-666-8040, or toll free at 800-490-8275.
Welcome back to the show. We've been showing you some proper techniques in cleaning your boat today, and we left off with some problem areas, and now we want to get into rust. Patricia?
Most of the problems caused by rust are from the hardware on the boat. People either use stainless bolts or screws in most cases, but they still do bleed with time. And then you have problems not only with the rust around the stanchions, but on the fiberglass as well.
Okay.
And they both have to be dealt with.
What do you recommend?
Usually an acid-based product with hydrofluoric acid in it, so you should wear gloves at all times because it's very caustic. But it does remove the rust from stainless, any kind of metal, or fiberglass.
Are there any household chemicals that we could use for this, Patricia?
To remove rust, you could use Snowball, but it's also very caustic, so you should wear gloves and be careful and make sure that you have a hose running at all times so that you can keep the water off the hull so it doesn't run down and strip your wax and take off your bottom paint. Whenever you're using a caustic acid, make sure you have the hose running and your gloves on.
When using any type of acid-based product on the boat, make sure that you wear proper eye protection. It only takes a splattering of these chemicals to cause serious injury. Also wear protective gloves to keep the acid away from your skin. Now when you're using the product on the stain, use it sparingly and only on the affected areas. Parents and grandparents, keep the barefooted young ones off the boat when you're working with this stuff. What you want to do is you want to take a small amount and put it on a toothbrush and actually scrub it into the cracks and crevices around your stanchions and cleats. Keep a hose handy, and immediately after the stain has come up, rinse it off with the hose. This product will cause damage to your bottom paints and your wax if not rinsed immediately. Next thing we'd like to show you is how to treat your oxidized gel coat. Naturally, what we're getting into are rubbing compounds, and Patricia, I was hoping you could help us determine which rubbing compound we should use on this boat.
Well, this boat is very oxidized and it's not been taken care of properly in the last, say, year or so. So you're going to need to go to a heavy-duty 3M compound, which is very abrasive. It's safe on fiberglass and on gel coat, but not to be used on painted surfaces because it's too abrasive.
So keep it away from the all grip and from the sterling.
Yes.
Now, I've heard a lot of guys have actually burned holes in their gel coat when they're rubbing out the boat. What's gone wrong?
Well, they're either using a high-speed buffer, which is too fast, and it actually burns right through the very, very thin layer of gel coat on the boat, or they're using a compound that's too abrasive and it's actually working like a sandpaper and taking the paint or gel coat off.
Well, let's give you a step-by-step of how to actually do a rub out. Wipe the compound onto a small area with a brush or rag. Next, work the material out towards the edges to your work area. What you're trying to accomplish here is the removal of a thin layer of gel coat. This will expose fresh gel coat that has not yet been damaged by the sun. Now we'll wash the entire area with fresh water. Chamois the area and apply the wax. When you're applying the wax, make sure that you're following the recommendations the manufacturer supplies. I personally like the Teflon waxes that are out there, making the boat nice and slick. Teflon waxes are more expensive, but well worth it. Patricia, can you show us how to deal with mildew on vinyl or canvas?
Sure. There's an ever-growing problem in South Florida with mold and mildew on canvas, on vinyl, on leather, and it stems from the fact that the moisture in the air gets trapped under the canvas or on the seats and isn't dried properly once the boat is cleaned, if it is cleaned, and all these little mold and bacteria fungus grows, and the best way to get rid of it is with some biodegradable chemical called Simple Green, or if Simple Green is not available, you could use a Spray 9 or a Tough Enough. Just use a little stiff brush, put it right on the area where the mildew is, and spray it off, and you're done.
I know a lot of boaters have used Vaseline to lubricate their snaps, but I've got something a little bit better. Get yourself a tube of chapstick, open it up, and it fits perfect. Over your snap, pull it off, and you're done.
Here's what's coming up next on Shipshape TV.
Welcome back to the show. The next thing we want to show you is how to take care of your teak woods around the boat. Now, Patricia, what do you recommend?
I recommend Snappy Teak New. It's a two-part teak cleaner. I don't use the brushes that are supplied in the manufacturer's kit because I feel the bristles are too hard and they actually put gouges in the teak wood. Teak has soft grains and hard grains, and the removal of the soft grains that causes a phenomenon called chattering. Instead of the brushes, I use a white 3M Scotch pad. It's the softest one of all the pads on the market. When cleaning the teak wood, I go against the grain and let the chemicals do my work rather than a brush or the 3M pad. And then I use part 2 to brighten the teak, and it's clean. Once it dries, you can either go on to follow up with a wood oil or a wood sealer, or if you like a lot of work, varnish.
Tell us how to clean our vinyl seats.
Okay, the one thing that you want to stay away from when you're cleaning vinyl seats or cushions of any kind is bleach, because the bleach can actually damage the threads in the fabric, and with time the sun will make them away and you will have no threads left.
Well, a lot of people, they feel with the mildew, they put the bleach on and that's killing the mildew. In essence, they're killing their threads?
Yes, they are. You could use soft scrub on cushions if they're really badly stained and can't get it out with anything else, but stay away from the bleach.
Okay, so soft scrub with bleach is a big no-no.
Big no-no.
Now, what about really tough stains? Are there any tricks of the trade?
Yes. You can use Comet. The regular old household liquid Comet comes in a can, powdered form. It's like sandpaper. But if you mix it with a little water and make a paste, then you can rub it in and it won't harm the fabrics at all.
Well, the next thing we're going to look at is how to clear your isinglass, but we need to head on over to a different boat. Patricia, we've had a lot of people ask us how to take care of their isinglass. What do you recommend?
Correct. I would recommend Novus plastic polish or Meguiar's plastic polish. There's several out there on the market, but they make a polish that removes fine scratches, actually cleans it, and it's more like a wax that you put on, let dry, and buff off, so it protects the isinglass.
A lot of guys are using lemon pledge on their isinglass. Do you recommend that?
No, I do not. I would recommend that you not use lemon pledge. Have you ever seen isinglass that is all yellow and discolored and foggy? You can barely see through it. That's a result of lemon pledge on isinglass.
A lot of guys are filling in their isinglass scratches with WD-40. What do you think of that?
Not a good idea either. The WD-40 may appear to fill in the scratches initially, but all that it's going to do is run down the isinglass, actually leave discoloration on it, and stain your canvas.
One last thing I want to show you is a product that's being put out by Marine Polishing Systems called the Clearance. And what this machine is for is it will actually help your hard water convert into soft. It actually filters it, and it will stop some of the hard water spots when you're rinsing the boat. One last thing, I want to head on over to West Marine and check out the myriad of boat care products that are on the market. Let's have a look. With us from West Marine is Georgia Lupo, who's one of the managers out here. And Georgia, I was wondering how many products should a first-time boater be considering when looking for boat care needs?
Generally about a half a dozen different products.
Now you guys carry literally hundreds and hundreds of these boat care products. What should that person be looking for?
He needs a good boat soap, one that's clean rinsing yet very effective and gentle. An all-purpose cleaner, one that will save them money but that they can use for a multiplicity of uses. You know, you can dilute it down for different purposes. General all-purpose cleaning, all sorts of things like that.
Now you're telling me about the importance of using a white hose. Why is that necessary?
Non-marring on the decks. The white hoses have plastic fittings which aren't going to damage the gel coat, and they also don't impart an odor to the water for potable water.
Tell me about this product that's dissolving barnacles on hulls.
It's a hydrochloric acid, but the formula is patent pending, and it actually foams and dissolves the barnacle rings, which is really great, especially for people with outdrives. They no longer have to worry about scraping the outdrives or the boot of the outdrives. They can just spray it on. People with inflatables, it doesn't damage the hypalon or the PVC.
Fantastic. Now this is something that only West carries.
Only West carries at this time that I'm aware of.
Ballpark, what are we looking at dollar-wise for buying these products?
Roughly about $150.
Great. Well, that's about all the time we have for this week's show. I'd like to again thank Patricia Atkinson as well as Georgia Lupo from West Marine. Until next week, guys, keep your boat shipshape.
Okay, John, take 33. I guess you're going to find us lunch again today.
Opaque.
Ship-shape is the way to be.
And speed.
How to treat
On the lake or on the sea.
how to treat mildew.
Ship-shape means trouble.
Okay, and speed.
How to treat mildew.
Ship-shape means
Why am I have a hard time bring oxidized.
Ship-shape makes both
I use the Snappy Teak 2. The Snappy Teak new is a it's a two-part, it's a two-part, I can't even say the first word. It's a two-part teak cleaner.
Be still. 34, 38, 40.
You can write us with your questions, addressing them to Shipshape TV, P.O. Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, or chat with us on the internet. Our address on the World Wide Web is www.spectacular.com/ShipshapeTV.